Thanksgiving was supposed to be about warmth, love, and family. But for me, Emily Walker, it had become something else entirely. As I sat on a cold, metal folding chair in the garage, my coat wrapped tightly around my shoulders, I tried to act like nothing was wrong, for the kids. My youngest, Lily, picked at her paper plate of mashed potatoes with a plastic fork. My son, Ben, didn't say a word. He just stared at the door leading into the house, where laughter echoed and the smell of turkey and sweet pies filled the air we weren't allowed to breathe. From inside, I heard Chloe's voice, sharp, polished, and cruel. She's used to scraps. Let her eat where she belongs. My breath hitched. I looked at my children and forced a smile, pretending I didn't hear. Pretending it didn't burn. The garage was freezing. A single overhead bulb flickered, casting long shadows across the cluttered shelves. Boxes, tools, broken decorations. That's where they put us, next to junk. Like junk. I glanced down at the dish I'd brought. Sweet potato casserole, the one recipe my mom used to say I made better than anyone. Untouched. They didn't even let it on the table inside. Said they had enough sides. Ben finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Why can't we eat with them, Mom? I froze. What was I supposed to say? That their mom wasn't good enough? That no matter how hard she tried, her family still saw her as a failure? Before I could answer, something interrupted the silence. A sound. Deep, smooth, powerful. An engine. Outside the garage, headlights flashed across the small window near the ceiling. Then the roar of a luxury engine idling. I stood up slowly, walked to the side door of the garage, and peeked through the tiny glass pane. A Ferrari. Candy apple red. Sleek. Expensive. It rolled up into the long driveway like it owned the place. The garage door creaked open behind me. Chloe and the others had heard it too. They were all filing out of the house now, murmuring to each other, confused. The driver's door lifted up. Out stepped a man in a tailored black coat. Tall, mid-40s, confident. The kind of man people don't ignore. He didn't smile. Didn't glance at anyone. He just looked around until his eyes landed on me. Then, with a steady voice that cut through the chilly air, he asked. I'm looking for the owner of this house. Everyone froze. My father stepped forward, chuckling awkwardly. That'd be me. John Walker. What's this about? The man tilted his head, almost amused. Interesting, he said, glancing back at me. Because according to this deed, it belongs to someone else. And just like that. Their smiles dropped. Their confidence shattered. And for the first time that day, I felt warm. Growing up, I always knew I was the spare daughter. Not the pretty one. Not the smart one. Just Emily. Chloe, my older sister, was everything my parents dreamed of. Blonde, poised, perfect grades, homecoming queen, and eventually married to a wealthy dentist from Connecticut. She was their pride. Their golden child. I, on the other hand, was the girl who liked to read in corners, who never quite got the makeup right, who married young and divorced even younger when my husband walked out with our savings and never looked back. After that, my parents barely looked me in the eye. I moved into a small rental 2 towns over, worked double shifts at a diner, and raised Ben and Lily on my own. I never asked them for help. Not once. But every Thanksgiving, I still showed up, brought food, dressed the kids in their cleanest clothes, told myself, maybe this year will be different. It never was. Last year, Chloe rolled her eyes at my hand-me-down purse. My mom sighed when Lily accidentally spilled juice on the rug. And my father, half drunk, said in front of everyone, you should have married better, Emily. Then maybe you wouldn't be serving pancakes at a truck stop. That night, I cried alone in the bathroom while the kids napped on the couch. But I never stopped hoping. This year, I thought maybe they'd notice how far I'd come. I had started a small cleaning business. Just me, a mop, and a dream. I picked up regular clients, real estate agents, offices, even a few upscale homes. I was saving, slowly but surely. But when I walked into the house today with my casserole, Chloe greeted me with a fake smile and whispered, "Garage, Emily. We already have a full table." That smile cut deeper than any insult. Ben looked up at me with those wide, innocent eyes and asked, "Do they not like us, Mom?" And in that moment, standing in that garage with the chill creeping into my bones and my pride cracking in my chest, I promised myself, this would be the last Thanksgiving they'd ever treat me like less. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But I knew something had to change. So when that Ferrari pulled up, when that mysterious man stepped out, I didn't know exactly what it meant. But I felt it in my gut. It was something big. And for once, it wasn't happening to Chloe. It was happening to me. The sound of that engine made the entire backyard freeze. Even from the garage, I could see through the open side door, a sleek, cherry-red Ferrari rolled to a smooth stop in the driveway, purring like a panther. It was so out of place next to my father's rusting pickup and Chloe's oversized SUV, it may as well have landed from another planet. Everyone stared. Chloe was the first to break the silence. She adjusted her blouse, smoothed her hair, and whispered to her husband, "Who drives a Ferrari in this neighborhood?" The kids peeked over my shoulder, their eyes wide. I held Ben close to my side, unsure of what to make of the moment. And then the driver's door opened. Out stepped a tall man in a dark suit, polished shoes that didn't belong anywhere near our muddy gravel driveway, and eyes that scanned the yard like he already owned it. He didn't say anything at first. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, calm, composed, powerful. Then his voice cut through the awkward silence like a knife. "I'm looking for the owner of this house." Heads turned. My father, chest puffed like he suddenly remembered he was the man of the house, marched forward. "That'd be me," he said, extending a hand. "John Miller. What's this about?" But the man didn't even look at his hand. Instead, his eyes shifted, past the confused faces of my family, past the fancy decorations Chloe had scattered around the porch, and locked directly onto me, standing in the cold garage with my kids. "No," he said calmly. "Not you." The air shifted. "I'm looking for Emily Miller." Everyone turned to me. My sister's mouth twitched. My mom actually scoffed. I stood frozen, holding my breath. "Me?" I asked softly, stepping forward. He smiled. "Yes, ma'am." Ben gripped my hand tighter. Lily whispered, "Who is that, Mommy?" The man took a few steps closer and said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've been looking for you for a while now. My employer has a very important matter to discuss about your cleaning service and a very special house." The looks on my family's faces were priceless. A mix of confusion, disbelief, and something else. Fear. Because for the first time, something was happening that they couldn't control. And it was happening to me. Chloe stepped forward, trying to laugh it off. "You must be mistaken. Emily's Emily's the one I'm here for," the man said firmly. "And we'd like to offer her a deal. A big one." Then he turned back to me. "Do you have a moment to talk?" My voice trembled, but I stood taller than I ever had before. "Yes," I said. "I do." Because somehow, I knew. This was the beginning of everything changing. As I stepped out of the garage, it felt like I was walking out of the shadows. The man in the suit held the door open to the Ferrari with quiet respect, like I was someone important. Someone who deserved to ride, not hide. Ben tugged my sweater, nervous. "Are we leaving, Mommy?" I leaned down and kissed his forehead. "Just for a minute, baby. I'll be right back." Lily grabbed my other hand. "Is he safe?" I glanced at the man. His eyes were steady, not a hint of threat, only purpose. I looked back at my kids. "Yes, sweetheart. He's not here to hurt us." I turned back to my family. Their expressions were priceless, like someone had just dropped a bomb in the middle of their picture-perfect dinner. Chloe stepped forward again, fake smiling. "Emily, I really think you should stay. He's probably selling something." I didn't even look at her. I just smiled. I'll take my chances. I slid into the car. The leather hugged me like it already knew me. We didn't drive far, just around the block. But it was far enough to feel free. The man introduced himself as Mr. Dalton, a representative from the Monroes, one of the most influential real estate developers in the state. My employers have been quietly observing a few local businesses, he explained. They're looking for someone trustworthy to manage a new property, someone who understands how to treat a home with care, not just clean it. My heart pounded. How did you find me? He smiled. A wealthy client of yours, Mrs. Lorraine, recommended you. She said, and I quote, "That girl doesn't just clean a home. She restores dignity to every room she touches." I blinked. Mrs. Lorraine? From the lake house? He nodded. You didn't know she was a Monroe, did you? I shook my head, stunned. She's been watching you for a while. The way you raised your kids alone, built a business from nothing, the way you carry yourself even when people around you don't see your worth. She saw it. And so did I. My throat tightened. No one had ever said anything like that to me. Not my family. Not even my ex. Dalton continued, they want you to manage their newest estate. It's not just a cleaning job, it's full-time oversight. Design decisions. Event hosting. 6 figures a year. Full benefits. Staff under you. I laughed out of pure disbelief. Are you serious? He looked me in the eyes. Completely. I stared out the window. All those nights I spent folding towels while my sister went on cruises. All the times I fed my kids leftovers while they toasted with wine inside the house I grew up in. And now, someone was choosing me. For the first time in years, I felt a spark in my chest. Not just hope. Power. Dalton parked back at the driveway. You don't have to give them an answer right away, he said. But when you're ready, just call this number. He handed me a sleek black card. I held it tight, like I was gripping the key to a whole new life. The next day, things were different. I could feel the change in the air, the tension that my family had ignored for so long now pressing against them. I stood in the kitchen, chopping vegetables like I'd done 1,000 times before, but today it felt like I was preparing a feast for a different kind of victory. The smell of garlic and rosemary didn't just fill the house, it filled me with a quiet power, something that had been missing for years. My sister Chloe walked in, pretending like nothing had changed. She smiled, the same fake smile she always wore, but there was something different in her eyes. Maybe she could sense it too, the shift. Still cooking in the kitchen, huh? Chloe's voice was syrupy sweet, but I knew it was a mask for her discomfort. You know, you could have at least come back to the dining room yesterday. We're family, Em. I didn't look up from my chopping board. You know, it's funny you mention that. I've been thinking about family a lot lately. About how you all treat me. I paused, letting the knife fall to the cutting board with a sharp clink. Chloe tilted her head, clearly trying to gauge where this conversation was going. What do you mean? I straightened up, meeting her eyes for the first time that morning. I mean how you all treat me like I'm some kind of charity case. Like I should be grateful for the scraps you throw me. You know, scraps that could have been used to help me build something of my own. Her face twisted with irritation. Oh, come on, Em. It's not like that. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I couldn't hold back the laughter that bubbled up from deep within. No, Chloe. I think I'm finally seeing things clearly. It wasn't just the scraps, was it? It was the constant judgment, the whispers behind my back, the way you all pretended like I wasn't worth more than the life I was living. I dropped the knife with a deliberate clatter. But that changes now. Chloe's smile faltered. What are you talking about? I picked up the black card Mr. Dalton had given me the day before. I held it up, letting her see the sleek design, the crisp lettering. Her eyes went wide. I got an offer yesterday. From the Monroes, I said, letting the name hang in the air like a bomb. I'm not just cleaning houses anymore, Chloe. They want me to manage an estate. 6 figures. Full benefits. A team working under me. I'll be running the show. Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to find the right words, but nothing came out. That's right, I continued. I'm done playing the role of the invisible woman in this family. You don't get to decide my worth anymore. I'm going to show you just how much I've always been capable of. Chloe took a step back, her face pale. This is some kind of joke, right? You can't be serious. I smiled, but it wasn't a smile I had ever worn before. It wasn't the kind of smile I had given to keep the peace or to avoid confrontation. It was a smile of empowerment, of reclaiming everything that had been stolen from me. I'm deadly serious, I said. And you're going to watch. You're going to watch me rise. And you'll know exactly why I never needed your scraps to get there. Chloe turned quickly, her heels clicking on the tile floor as she left the kitchen, the door slamming behind her. I stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of what I'd just said settle into my bones. It felt good. I wasn't just walking out of that garage anymore. I was walking into my future, and no one was going to stop me. The weeks that followed were nothing like what I had imagined. Every day felt like a new challenge, but also a step closer to the life I had always dreamed of. I no longer let my family's opinions weigh me down, and I started to truly believe in the power of my own ambition. I took charge of my own narrative, and for the first time in years, I could feel the control slipping from their hands and into mine. The job with the Monroes was demanding but exhilarating. I was managing their estate like a seasoned pro, overseeing multiple projects at once. I had a team of staff, from landscapers to personal assistants, who now looked to me for direction. It wasn't just the financial stability, it was the respect that came with the position. I no longer had to feel like I was begging for crumbs. But even as I thrived, a part of me still had the bitter taste of betrayal. I remembered every moment of my family's cruelty, the harsh words, the way they ignored me when I needed them the most, how they shoved me into the garage and acted like it didn't matter. I didn't forget that. And while I was no longer the vulnerable woman who had to beg for respect, I was still the woman who would take the opportunity to turn the tables. It was during a family reunion, a few months after I'd taken the job, that the final piece of my plan fell into place. It was Thanksgiving, and for once, I wasn't the one stuck in the garage. I had made sure of that. This year, I would be at the head of the table. But it wasn't just about the seat, it was about proving to everyone that they had underestimated me. I'd already learned that they were all too willing to forget the past, to pretend like everything was fine. They were naive if they thought I wouldn't come back for what they'd taken from me. I walked into the room, and as soon as I did, heads turned. The room fell silent. My family was seated around the long dining table, trying to maintain their composure. They hadn't expected me to show up, but they were about to learn just how serious I was about reclaiming my power. My sister Chloe's expression changed the moment she saw me. She looked at me like she had seen a ghost, like she could already sense the shift in the atmosphere. The others, including my parents, tried to mask their shock with forced smiles, but I knew they were rattled. I stood tall at the entrance, wearing the confidence of a woman who knew her worth, the same woman who had been dismissed and discarded not too long ago. I wasn't the version of myself they remembered, the one who was pushed aside, the one who ate in the garage. No, I was something different now. I was stronger. I was someone who had built her own empire. Isn't it a lovely day? I said, my voice calm, but carrying the weight of everything that had come before. I think it's time for a little reminder. Don't you? Chloe shifted uncomfortably in her seat. What do you mean? I smiled, not out of malice, but because I had the upper hand. You all think you can just pretend the past didn't happen. But let me tell you something, I remember everything. And now, so do you. The tension in the room thickened. The smiles dropped, and for the first time, they saw the real me, the woman they had underestimated. The woman they thought was nothing but a quiet, invisible shadow. I'm not the person you used to know, I continued. I'm not the person you can push aside anymore. I've got what I've always deserved, and it's time for you to acknowledge that. I'm no longer the one sitting in the garage while you all feast. This year, I'm here to stay. I looked around at the faces in front of me, each one a picture of disbelief. I could practically hear their thoughts. How could she possibly have turned things around so quickly? How had I become the person who now stood at the threshold of everything they had taken for granted? And then, to make sure they understood, I added one last thing. The Monroes have an open invitation for me. But I'm not here for their approval. I'm here to remind you that no matter how much you try to bury me, I will always rise. I could feel their gazes on me, fear, confusion, and most of all, regret. They knew they had crossed a line, and now it was too late for them to take it back. The moment I finished speaking, the room fell into an eerie silence. It was as if time itself had paused, holding its breath. For a few seconds, no one moved, no one spoke. My family sat frozen in place, their faces a mixture of shock, disbelief, and guilt. Chloe's eyes were wide, her mouth slightly agape, as if she couldn't quite grasp what was happening. I could almost hear the wheels turning in her head. She never expected me to come back, let alone confront them in this way. She had always been the golden child, the one everyone adored, the one who didn't have to fight for anything. I was the one who always took the back seat, the one who was easily forgotten. But not anymore. My parents were no different. Their faces twisted in discomfort as they tried to regain their composure, but it was obvious they were rattled. They knew they had wronged me, how could they not? But they hadn't anticipated this level of defiance from me. For years, they had acted like I didn't matter, like I was invisible. They dismissed my struggles, thrown me aside as if I were some insignificant part of their lives they could easily ignore. But today, I was far from invisible. I was standing in front of them, strong, confident, and commanding the respect they had never given me. Finally, my mother spoke, her voice wavering with a mixture of guilt and denial. I didn't mean for things to go this way, sweetie, she said, her words faltering. I just wanted the best for you. Best for me? I interrupted, the bitterness rising in my throat. You call throwing me out on my birthday, making me eat in the garage while the rest of you feasted, the best for me? You didn't want the best for me, Mom. You wanted control. You wanted to make sure I stayed small, so you could feel better about yourselves. Her face paled as my words hit home. She didn't know how to respond. She hadn't expected me to turn the tables like this, to force her to confront the truth of what she'd done. Then, as if the silence wasn't thick enough, I turned my gaze to my father. He had been the quiet one throughout all this, the one who never intervened. But now, I could see the guilt in his eyes too. He knew. He knew he had stood by and allowed it all to happen, and deep down, I could tell he regretted it. But regret wasn't enough for me. You're right about one thing, though, I continued, my voice colder now. You did want the best for me, in your own way. But your version of the best was always about what was best for you. Not me. Not my happiness. Your idea of success was to keep me in line, under your thumb, while you lavished attention and affection on Chloe. But today, things change. The tension in the room grew heavier as I spoke. I was done being the person who took the back seat, the person who quietly accepted whatever scraps were thrown my way. This was my moment, and I was going to take full advantage of it. Chloe shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable now, as if she finally realized what she had done. The role she had played in my suffering all these years, the constant comparisons, the subtle digs, the way she always tried to outshine me, came crashing down on her in that moment. I could see the realization dawning on her face, and I didn't let it go unnoticed. You didn't just hurt me, I said, looking directly at Chloe. You hurt my kids too. All those times we were ignored, left out, and treated like we didn't matter. But now, I'm going to make sure you understand just what that kind of treatment costs. The room was so quiet now, the only sound the distant hum of the cars outside. I could hear my own heartbeat thudding in my ears, but it didn't scare me. It empowered me. I had taken control. I had waited for this moment for too long. And now it was time to deliver the final blow. The sound of a car engine approaching interrupted the silence. I could hear the roar of an engine, its speed growing louder with each passing second. It was a sound I recognized. It was the unmistakable roar of a Ferrari. My heart skipped a beat as I turned toward the window. And then, just as I suspected, a Ferrari pulled into the driveway. Everyone in the room turned toward the window, their faces a mixture of confusion and curiosity. I knew what was coming next. I could feel the rush of adrenaline, the thrill of the moment. The Ferrari came to a halt outside, and I saw a man step out of the car. His presence was commanding, dressed in an immaculate suit, his confidence radiating with every step he took. As he approached the door, I could see the reactions of my family. Their faces drained of color. They had no idea who he was, but I did. "I'm looking for the owner of this house," he said, his voice calm but authoritative. And then, just like that, their faces dropped. The shock, the realization, hit them all at once. This wasn't just some random visitor. This was the person who would finally show them what happens when you push the wrong person too far. The tension in the room could be cut with a knife. They were no longer in control. It was my time now. The man at the door turned to face us, his presence so imposing that it felt like the world had shifted. "I'm here to speak with the owner of this house," he repeated, his voice cool but firm. My family's faces were frozen in shock, their eyes darting from him to me, the reality of the situation sinking in. I could feel the tension building, the silence now thick with anticipation. Then, the man turned towards me and said, "Are you the owner of this property?" I nodded, a small but satisfied smile tugging at the corners of my lips. The moment had come. The man handed me a thick envelope, a legal document sealed with an official stamp. Everyone's eyes widened as I took the envelope in my hand. This is a deed to a property that belongs to you now," the man explained, his gaze shifting briefly to my family. "I've been instructed to ensure it's legally transferred to you." At that instant, I saw the realization hit them all like a ton of bricks. They had never expected this, and they sure as hell hadn't anticipated what would follow. My heart raced with satisfaction as I held the envelope in my hands, the weight of the legal document symbolizing everything I had worked for, everything they had tried to deny me. "Congratulations," the man said, his eyes lingering on my family before turning back to me with a knowing nod. The faces of my family members dropped further into disbelief as they processed the shift of power. The tables had turned. "You should have treated me better," I said quietly. "You had no idea what was coming, but now you will." And with that, the victory was mine.